Relax now. Feel your body getting heavier. With each soft breath you take, your mind drifts. A gentle calm fills the spaces between your thoughts. Hey guys, tonight we're diving into a medieval winter, but not the way you've heard before. Forget everything you think you know, this is the real story, and honestly, you probably wouldn't last a day. So, before you drift too far, hit that like button if cozy history is your thing, and let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Now, dim the lights, grab a soft blanket, maybe your favorite pillow, and let's jump in ever so gently. Our story tonight begins beneath a frozen roof in a small peasant cottage perched on the edge of a silent wood. You lie on straw, layered over woolen blankets, feeling their gentle roughness beneath you. Your breath shines in pale clouds against the dark plank ceiling. Cold fingers of air drift through the seams of the wattle and daub walls. Outside, the hush of a deep winter surrounds you, soft, expectant, a lullaby of frost. You hear the creak of beams as the night's weight settles. A distant owl hoots, muffled by heavy snow. The thatch above whispers as snow slides off in tiny torrents, like soft drumbeats on distant rooftops. You feel a tension dissolves tiny muscles in your shoulders unclench. One by one, your eyelids grow heavier. Now that you've begun to relax, imagine morning light, faint and cold, filtering in through snow-covered shutters. You wake before dawn, your body half asleep. It's January, harsh, lean. The hearth has long died, and embers are only memories. You shift toward your younger brother, sleeping beside you. His warmth is your anchor. You rise slowly, blanket falling away. Your feet find worn leather shoes, frozen stiff. You pull on a shirt of rough linen, then woolen layers. Feeling each garment brush your skin soft and a little itchy. That itch, you breathe through it, fading. You step toward the kitchen, where a single candle flickers. Its light trembles on earthen walls. A pot sits on cold stone hearth. As you approach, the scent of last night's porridge still lingers slightly sour, comforting. You pour in water ice cold from the well. It hisses softly as it meets cold metal. You add oats from a small sackhand stir. The spoon scrapes quietly at the bowl. Stir, stir, each motion slow, rhythmic, hypnotic. You taste a small spoonful, bland but warm. It travels slowly down your throat. You hold that warmth in your chest, breathing in the still, silent kitchen. Wrap yourself deeper in your cloak. Feel its weight settle across your shoulders. You open the cottage door. The wind greets you with a hush, scattering snowflakes like feathers. You step out onto packed snow that crunches softly each footstep, a soft whisper. You gather kindling near the door, tiny twigs, pine needles, a bit of fallen bark. Each piece is precious. Every scrap here might buy you a few more minutes of warmth. Your fingers find the brittle wood. You press pieces to your chest, sharing a breath of warmth. Back inside, you dangle kindling over embers tender, a hiss, a flicker, then light. A small flame dances, fragile and golden. You watch quiet joy rising as light spreads up the chimney, along walls, across your face. As the fire gains strength, you remember old stories passed down from your grandmother. They said that stuffing straw into cracks behind tapestries helped seal warmth, and sleeping fully clothed, head to toe, kept your breath from chilling you. Men and women, even pigs, shared beds in winter, though I wouldn't say it was always cozy. You run your hands along the rough wall, feeling how insulation, tapestry scraps, animal skins helped lock in precious heat. Now, feel your heart slow. Let your mind keep drifting in gentle waves. You return to your mattress of straw, layering more woolen blankets, 3 in total, each thicker than the last. You tuck the bottom blanket beneath the mattress to trap heat. The top one wraps over your shoulders, cocoon-like. You add a final ritual. Rosemary sprigs set near the fire. The scent drifts into your cottage, a hint of forest, fresh and safe. You settle back down. Body and blankets merge into softness. The firelight flickers against your closed eyelids. Blankets wrestle tiny creaks like lullaby rhythms. Your brother shifts beside you, soft snuffles in sleep. His presence warms the world. You breathe in that quiet comfort. Outside, the wood sighs. Inside, the fire hums. Both lull you deeper. As you drift, you realize these cold nights have taught you resilience. You survived on little wood. You used warmth trapping hacks. You learned that community sharing one hearth, one bed can keep many alive. And so, as the cold presses in, you rest easier, heart lighter. Feel your body surrender to sleep. Know that you are not alone. Centuries of villagers, warmed by the same human ingenuity, endurance, simple fires, and your dreams now embrace that history, soft, slow, drifting. As your eyelids flutter close, you begin to drift softly, slowly into dreams. In your mind's eye, you see the frozen fields thawing, gentle streams whispering under early sunlight. You imagine the first shoots of green pushing through the snow, fragile and brave. A breeze carries the scent of fresh earth and new beginnings, a promise whispered by the land itself. But for now, you are here warm, wrapped, safe inside your humble cottage, beneath that frozen roof. Even in dreams, the little house is alive. You feel the soft padding of paws. Your old barn cat, fur thick and fluffy, curls beside the hearth. She purrs quietly, a low hum that seems to chase away the cold even more than the fire. You watch her eyelids droop, feel the steady rhythm of her breath. Her warmth is a soft, living blanket. And just like you, she knows the value of a place to hide from winter's bite. Outside, the stars are sharp, bright jewels in the cold black velvet sky. Long ago, your village's elders would look up and tell stories, reading the constellations as guides through winter's darkness. You remember their words, how the winter triangle helped them know how long the cold might last. Stars twinkle like the fire's embers in the dark, and their silent glow feels like an ancient hand reaching through time, holding you close. Far beyond the cold and dark, morning will come again. The sun will rise, golden and soft, brushing the frost like a gentle hand. You'll feel the warmth on your face, the thaw in the air, and the sounds of birds returning. But until then, wrapped in layers of wool and hope, you rest. And you know, deep inside, you're ready for the next winter's challenge because you survived this one. So, as the fire burns low and your breath slows, know that this night you've traveled back in time, shared a small life with a medieval villager. You've felt the cold, the fire, the hope. Now, surrender to sleep. Let your body soften, your mind quiet, and tomorrow wake gently as the world begins again. You lie quietly, listening to the fire crackle softly. Each tiny pop echoes in the stillness like a whispered secret from the heart of the wood. The orange flames dance lazily, casting long shadows that sway and stretch across the rough wooden walls. You watch the glowing embers, imagining the journey they took from tall ancient trees to this fragile spark of life in your humble home. Feel the warmth seep slowly into your fingers, your toes, your very bones soft, steady, comforting. Your gaze drifts to the window, frosted thick with ice crystals. The patterns twist and turn like delicate lacework, nature's own art. Through the shimmering glass, you see the world muffled by snowfields, transformed into soft white blankets, trees bowed beneath icy weight. Outside, the silence is profound, as if the entire forest is holding its breath. Inside, the room feels even warmer, protected, safe from the vast frozen wilderness beyond. Beyond the walls, the village sleeps, wrapped in its own quiet slumber. You imagine the soft crunch of footsteps on snowy lanes, the distant bark of a watchdog, the occasional jingle of a bell on a goat's collar. Sometimes, a muffled voice calls through the stillness, a neighbor checking on another, a friendly reminder that you're not alone. The cold doesn't silence community. It just softens the sound, like a lullaby sung by the snow itself. Your hands brush over the clothes beside you, a thick wool cloak, a coarse linen shift, a pair of knitted hose. Each piece has a story, woven by hands long gone, designed to trap warmth against the cruel chill. In medieval winters, layering was survival. No central heat, no insulation beyond what you could carry or wear. You imagine slipping each piece on, the scratchy linen next to skin, the dense wool outside, all held tight with leather ties and pins. How different from the soft cotton pajamas of today, yet somehow just as comforting in their own way. You close your eyes and let your mind wander to the table-rough wooden planks groaning under the weight of simple foods. In winter, fresh produce was scarce, but hearty stews simmered for hours, filling the house with rich, smoky smells. Maybe there's a hunk of coarse bread, a bit of salted pork, or preserved fruits candied with honey. Eating by candlelight, family and neighbors gather, sharing stories and warmth, their laughter a balm against the bleak cold. Though outside is frozen silence, inside is a cozy world of food and friendship. Outside, the river lies still, covered in a thick crust of ice. You imagine children skating on the slippery surface, their laughter echoing across the valley. But the ice can be treacherous thin in places, ready to give way without warning. Villagers must tread carefully, knowing that beneath the glittering surface lies cold, unforgiving water. A reminder that medieval winters were beautiful, but full of hidden risks. You reach for the candle on the windowsill. The flame flickers as you breathe gently, fighting the cold drafts. Candles were precious in medieval times, made from tallow or beeswax. They burned slowly and filled the room with golden light. The soft glow casts familiar shapes on the walls, making the room feel alive. As the wick consumes the wax, you imagine the countless nights people spent by candlelight, their stories and dreams woven into the flickering shadows. You shiver at the thought of bathing in winter rare and often perilous. A wooden tub might be filled with barely warm water, steam rising in gentle wisps. But most villagers went weeks without a proper wash, relying on herbal rinses and the warmth of layered clothing to stay clean. You imagine the fresh scent of lavender or rosemary, small comforts in harsh times. Though less convenient than today's baths, the rituals were cherished moments of calm. The silence outside is a meditation. Snow absorbs sound, making the world feel soft, slowed, and distant. You imagine stepping outside, the crunch of snow underfoot loud in the quiet night. The stars sparkle brighter here, unmarred by city lights. You breathe in the cold air sharp and clear and feel a peaceful stillness settle deep in your bones. You pull the last blanket tight around you, a soft cocoon of wool and warmth. Your body relaxes fully now, heavy and safe. The cold is a distant memory, replaced by the gentle pulse of the fire's glow and your steady breathing. You feel cradled in the arms of history, wrapped in stories, and ready to drift deeper into sleep. The morning light seeps softly through the frosted window pane, a pale silver glow spilling onto the rough wooden floor. You stretch slowly beneath your thick woolen blankets, feeling the familiar stiffness in your joints from the cold night. The cottage is still quiet, except for the faint crackle of embers in the hearth, barely glowing now, their warmth almost gone. Outside, the snow blankets the world in silence, muffling even the distant calls of the waking village. You rise carefully, pressing your feet against the cold, uneven boards. The chill bites at your skin through your worn leather shoes, stiffened and cracked from months of wear. You wrap your thick cloak tighter around your shoulders as you cross the room to the door. The wooden latch creaks softly as you open it, and the sharp winter air rushes in like a sudden breath, swirling loose snowflakes inside. The village looks like a scene from a storybook, all white and soft, the roofs heavy with snow, smoke curling slowly from chimneys. You notice the footprints left by early risers' neighbors heading to the well or the bakehouse. Their muffled voices carry faintly, promising the slow stirring of daily life despite the unforgiving cold. In the crisp air, you pull your scarf higher, feeling the sting of frost on your cheeks. The landscape beyond the village stretches in muted shades of gray and white fields lying fallow, trees bare and skeletal, their branches coated in frost that glints like tiny stars in the morning sun. You make your way toward the well, a stone circle half buried in snow. The wooden bucket is tied to a rope thick with frost, its edge stiff from the cold. Drawing water is no easy task today. The rope feels frozen and rough in your hands, and the bucket's lip is coated in ice. But water must be fetched. There's no other way. You pause to breathe, the cold air filling your lungs with sharp clarity. Your fingers ache from the chill despite your woolen gloves, and you tuck your hands inside your cloak as you prepare to carry the precious water back. The trek back to your cottage is slow and careful. The snow beneath your feet sometimes gives way, threatening to spill you into the cold. But you manage to keep steady, each step deliberate. The cold bites deeper, but your heart beats with quiet determination. There is strength in routine, even in hardship. Inside, the warmth of the hearth greets you like an old friend. You add the precious water to the iron pot, setting it carefully on the embers. The fire struggles to catch, but you coax it with kindling and breath, watching as a small flame flickers and grows, the room slowly filling with light and heat once more. The scent of wood smoke and damp earth mingles in the air, reminding you of long ago days when winters were faced with both fear and fierce courage. As the fire burns brighter, you think of your neighbors, your family all bound together by the shared challenge of surviving these frozen months. You reach for the small sack of oats on the shelf, pulling it down gently. Preparing porridge is a slow, comforting ritual, one that ties you to centuries of those who came before. The dry oats rustle softly in your hands, a whisper of warmth to come. As the water in the pot begins to bubble quietly, you stir in the oats, the spoon scraping against the iron, making a soft, steady rhythm. You breathe in the mild, earthy aroma, the promise of something nourishing to sustain you through the day. While the porridge cooks, you glance around the room. Simple tools hang on the walls. A wooden chest sits at the foot of the bed, and dried herbs dangle from beams overhead. Each object tells a story of survival, of resourcefulness in the face of nature's coldest tests. The smell of pine and rosemary from the herbs soothes your senses. These plants are more than decoration. They are medicine, food, flavoring, and protection from sickness. You recall how your grandmother once explained the power of rosemary to keep spirits bright when the days grow short and dark. By the firelight, you sit down on the floor, the warmth spreading slowly through your body. You feel the roughness of the straw mattress beneath your hand, the coarse weave of your wool cloak against your skin. These textures ground you in the present moment, comforting you as the cold world waits just beyond your walls. Outside, the wind rises, rattling the shutters with a soft clatter. Snow drifts past the window in lazy spirals, coating the village in stillness once again. You listen to the faint creaking of the trees as they bend beneath the weight of ice and snow, a reminder of nature's quiet, relentless force. The porridge is ready now, thick and warm. You take a small spoonful, the taste simple but sustaining earthy oats, a touch of salt, and the faintest sweetness from a drizzle of honey saved from the autumn harvest. The warmth spreads through your chest, a small comfort in the cold morning. As you eat, you think about the day ahead. There will be more wood to gather, animals to feed, and preparations to make before night falls again. But for now, the moment is still. The fire crackles softly, and the world outside waits beneath its heavy blanket of snow. You rise and move toward the small loom in the corner, where unfinished woolen cloth lies draped. Knitting and weaving are quiet tasks that fill the long winter hours, creating garments that will protect against the chill for many months to come. Your fingers trace the rough fibers, warmed slightly by the firelight. You think of the villagers who, despite the hardships, find moments of laughter and song. Stories shared beside the fire, the laughter of children playing in the snow, the slow return of light after the shortest days of the year. These are the threads that weave through winter's cold fabric, holding the community together. Outside, the sun climbs higher, softening the edges of the landscape. The snow sparkles like a field of diamonds, untouched and pure. You know that soon the thaw will come, and with it the promise of spring's renewal. But for now, you breathe in the quiet strength of this frozen world, feeling connected to those who came before and those who will come after. The cold is harsh, but you are warmer still, for you carry the fire inside you, a flame that winter cannot extinguish. You step outside once more, the cold biting at your cheeks as you pull your cloak tighter around your shoulders. The village is stirring now. Smoke rises steadily from chimneys, curling upward into the crisp, pale sky. You catch the faint clatter of wooden clogs on stone and the muffled voices of your neighbors beginning their daily tasks, each one wrapped in layers to fend off the biting cold. The snow crunches underfoot, sharp and steady, as you make your way toward the edge of the village where the woods begin. There, the tall evergreens stand like silent sentinels, their branches heavy with snow, the needles glinting like frosted glass. You breathe deeply, the pine scent filling your lungs. fresh and clean against the stale warmth of your cottage. Gathering wood is no simple task in winter, but the forest provides what the village needs to survive the long nights. You select branches thick enough to burn slow and steady, careful not to overburden yourself. The weight of the wood feels familiar, grounding, a tangible link between you and the land. As you work, you think about the old ways, how your ancestors learned to read the forest's signs, knowing where to find dry branches beneath the snow, or which trees offered the best kindling. In medieval times, knowledge like this was precious, passed down in quiet lessons by the fire. A sudden movement catches your Aja small hair, its white winter coat blending almost perfectly with the snow, darts between the trees. It pauses, nose twitching, ears alert, before vanishing into a thicket. For a moment, you watch, feeling a flicker of connection with this wild creature, both of you enduring the same relentless season in your own ways. You return to the village just as the sun dips low, casting a soft golden light that transforms the snow into a shimmering sea of pinks and blues. The air grows colder still, and a quiet hush falls over the land as evening approaches. Back inside, the warmth of the hearth welcomes you, and you set about preparing a simple meal. The stew simmers gently, the rich aroma mingling with the smoky scent of the fire. You savor the routine chopping root vegetables, stirring the pot, and feeling the steady rhythm of daily life hold you close. Later, as darkness thickens outside, you settle by the fire with a sheepskin draped over your lap. The flickering flames cast playful shadows, and you feel the steady comfort of your home a sanctuary from the harshness beyond. Outside, the wind howls softly, and snowflakes swirl in the lantern's glow, a quiet lullaby to the frozen night. You close your eyes briefly, imagining the village sleeping under its icy blanket, each soul wrapped in their own stories of survival and hope. The medieval winter may be brutal, but within these walls, warmth and resilience bloom quietly, like a hidden flame that no frost can touch. You sit quietly by the hearth, hands wrapped around a clay mug filled with steaming water steeped in dried chamomile and yarrow, harvested during the last warmth of autumn. The drink is earthy and faintly bitter, but its warmth spreads deep into your chest, softening the ache in your shoulders and easing the cold from your bones. Outside, the wind presses against the cottage like an old ghost, familiar and persistent. The shutters rattle gently, but you no longer startle at the sound. It's part of winter's voice, like the creak of rafters or the sigh of snow slipping from the roof. A knock sounds at the door, not loud, just two soft raps, almost uncertain. You rise, cloak still wrapped around your shoulders, and unbar the heavy wooden door. A swirl of wind rushes in, carrying a flurry of snow and the shape of a bundled figure. It's old Gisela, from 2 cottages down, her cheeks red, her breath misting in the air. "I brought some smoked fish," she says, voice muffled by her scarf. "We had good luck at the river. Thought you might be needing something warm." You welcome her in with a nod and a grateful smile, ushering her toward the fire. She settles near the warmth, carefully placing her offering on the table. The fish is wrapped in linen, smoked over alderwood, and smells faintly of salt and ash. Sharing is sacred in winter. Food, fire, time, none of it is taken for granted. Every visit from a neighbor is a silent vow. "I see you. We'll get through this together." You prepare slices of rye bread, a bit stale but still strong, and set out a dish of turnip and beet pickles. The two of you eat slowly, hands warmed by the firelight, the silence between bites filled with a comforting peace. Gazella speaks occasionally about the deepening snow, about the chickens who refuse to leave their coop, about the flickering candle in the shrine that wouldn't stay lit. You nod, listening more to the rhythm of her voice than the words themselves. In a world frozen and dim, human voices are golden threads stitching souls together, even in the dark. As the meal ends, she stands again, brushing crumbs from her lap, her joints stiff. "Storm's coming tonight," she says. "The air's gone too quiet." You walk her to the door, hand resting gently on her arm. The snow is falling heavier now, the flakes big and slow, like feathers tumbling from the sky. You watch her disappear into the whiteness, her figure swallowed almost immediately by the hush. Back inside, you bolster the fire and check the shutters once more, ensuring the cottage is sealed as best it can be. The storm's quiet arrival feels ancient, familiar, like a tale whispered by generations before you. You sit again by the fire, your body heavy with warmth and quiet. From a shelf, you draw down a small leather-bound book, your father's and his mother's before him. The pages are yellowed, the ink faded, but the drawings remain small diagrams of herbs and moon cycles, notes in the margins about weather and soil and luck. You trace a line with your fingertip, a chart showing the saint days and their weather omens. If snow falls on St. Agnes Eve, spring will come early, but if the wind howls, brace for frost until Easter. Tonight is such a night. You listen. The wind is picking up, a soft howl at first, like a song in the distance, then a creak, a sigh, a hush of drifting snow. You close the book slowly and look around your little home. The candle on the sill dances gently, as if nodding in agreement. You rise and begin the small rituals of preparation. A few more logs by the hearth, a second layer of wool on the bed, a pouch of dried lavender placed beneath your pillow. Each act is a charm against the cold, a whisper to the old gods. Let me wake again. At the far corner of the cottage, your old cat lifts her head from the pile of cloaks, yawns, and settles deeper into the warmth. Even the animals know when to be still. You pause by the window. Through a small, round patch of glass, you can see only snow. No outlines of trees, no flicker of moonlight, just endless white. The storm has begun in earnest now, blanketing the world in silence and ice. But within your home, the fire holds. The light flickers against the beams overhead, casting shapes that remind you of old folk tales, of frost spirits and hearth demons, of barn witches who guard the livestock, and of night wolves who travel by wind and hunger. You think of your grandmother's voice, telling such stories in her sing-song whisper, stories not meant to frighten, but to remind you that in winter, even shadows have names. The warmth wraps around you like a second skin. Outside, the wind may howl, but in here, the hearth sings low and steady. You lie down on the straw mattress again, cloaked in layers, your breath slow and full. The snow presses soft against the shutters. The storm rages gently, and your world, so small and so full, is quiet, and still the fire burns. The night deepens. Somewhere in the dark hours, when time stretches like a cat in sleep, and even the fire seems to hold its breath, you stir. Not fully awake, not fully dreaming. Something calls to you, but it isn't a voice. It's the absence of sound. You blink into the darkness. The hearth glows with a faint orange heart, The fire now no more than a bed of ash and tired embers. Shadows ripple softly along the walls, curling and folding with the draft that creeps beneath the door. You sit up slowly, wool blankets slipping from your shoulders. The cold bites instantly sharp as a blade. The air is different. Still, yes, but charged. Like the moment before a bell is struck. You listen. Beyond the shutters, nothing. Not the wind, not the creak of trees. Just silence. Even the cat, curled in a tight coil near the hearth, sleeps without twitching. You envy her, but something in your bones keeps you awake. Something old, something you do and have words for, but your grandmother might be called the frost's breath. You rise, wrapping a cloak around your shoulders, and move to the window. With your sleeve, you clear a circle in the frost-veiled glass. Outside, the world is changed again. The storm has stopped. The village lies beneath a thick quilt of untouched snow. Not a single track mars its surface. The rooftops look rounded and strange, as if the houses themselves have burrowed deeper into the earth for warmth. Above it all, a moon hangs low and full, painting the snow in silver. And there, at the edge of the woods, see them, figures, tall, still, silent. They do not move. They stand in the trees like watchers, cloaked in white, faces lost to shadow. You blink, and for a moment they seem to vanish behind a drift of wind-blown snow. But then, there again, 5 of them, 6. Your breath fogs the glass. You lean in, but the frost returns too quickly to see. You step back. Your heart, though steady, beats with a rhythm you recognize, the rhythm of warning. And yet, there's no fear, only curiosity, and a strange, deep memory, as though you've seen them before, not in waking, but in stories, in candlelit rooms, in tales whispered at night. The Snow Watchers. Your grandmother's voice rises in your mind, as clearly as if she were seated beside you. They come in the deepest part of winter, when the village has gone too long without song or prayer, when the snow piles too high and the fire grows too low. They come to count the silence. You remember asking, long ago, what happens if they don't like what they find? Your grandmother had only smiled, kissed your brow, and added more wood to the fire. Now you cross the room and do the same. You add 3 thick logs and fan the embers gently, watching as the flame begins to lick upward, reborn. The warmth spreads quickly, chasing shadows from the corners, reminding you that this light is yours, and maybe, just maybe, that's enough. You return to your bed and lie back down, the blankets holding your body in their soft weight. Sleep doesn't come right away, but you no longer mind. You listen to the silence, not afraid, but aware, and soon you drift again. The morning comes like a whisper gray, thick with snowlight, the world still silent. You open your eyes to a room unchanged, except for the fire, which has burned low once more. You rise and stretch, your limbs stiff but strong. The chill no longer surprises you. It simply is a fact of life, like hunger or the changing moon. You move to the window again. The snow is deeper than ever. The path to the well is gone, buried. The chicken coop looks like a lump of cloth thrown into a snowbank, and only the tips of your firewood stack peek out above the drifts, and the figures gone. The edge of the forest is still, but footprints leading away from the trees, long, deep impressions, not boots, not human, cloven, and then they stop, right at the path that leads to your door. But no prints return, Your breath fogs the glass. You trace a small circle, peering more closely. The marks are real, impossible to mistake. You step back, your mind strangely calm. This is what winter does, you think. It tests the veil between the seen and unseen, between body and spirit, between fire and frost. You light a second candle and place it in the window. An old custom older than any church bell. A light for those who walk the snow without leaving breath. Later in the day, the village gathers near the bakehouse. It's the warmest building, save the chapel, and the large oven inside has been working since dawn. Loaves of coarse black bread are pulled from the heat, split open, and shared. You sit near the hearth with others' neighbors, wrapped in furs and quiet conversation. A young boy recounts seeing strange lights above the treetops. A woman swears her milk turned to slush in the middle of the night, despite sitting beside her fire. Old Gisela nods. It's the cold remembering itself, she says. The old cold from before the sun. And no one laughs. Instead, you eat in silence, grateful for the bread, for the warmth, for the gathering. In winter, every shared story is a blanket. Every laugh is a fire. Afterward, you help dig out the path to the well. The work is slow and heavy, your breath misting in front of you, your hands raw even through your mittens. But the sky holds clear, and the sun weak though it is, glints off the snow like shards of mirror. You pause at the well, looking out once more to the trees. No figures today, only memory. That night, you dream. You walk barefoot across the snow, but it doesn't burn. Instead, it welcomes you, cool and soft, like linen sheets. The moon hangs low again, and ahead of you, the forest opens like a door. A woman stands among the trees. Her hair is made of ice, and her eyes are two blue coals. She says nothing, only raises a hand, and from it falls a single snowflake. You catch it in your palm, and it doesn't melt. When you wake, your hand is curled into a fist around nothing at all, but you still feel the cold. Not cruel, just ancient, just real. And outside, the snow falls again, covering all things until morning. The next day dawns slowly, not with sunlight, but with a soft lightening of the sky behind a veil of heavy clouds. The air is thick with quiet, the kind of quiet that clings to your skin, makes your ears ring, and forces your thoughts inward. You wake early, before the rest of the village stirs, and sit by the hearth, wrapped in sheepskin. The embers still glow, though faintly, and you feed them gently, just a few slivers of dry birch, the bark catching like old paper. As the flames rise, the cottage exhales, the warmth returns. You pull on your boots-cracked leather, lined with matted woolland, step out into the dawn. The village is beautiful in its stillness. Snow covers everything like icing on a cake, thick, soft, untouched. Icicles hang from the eaves like glass daggers, each one catching the gray light like crystal. Smoke from chimneys spirals straight upward, no wind, not yet. You trudge toward the communal well with a yoke over your shoulders, the two wooden buckets, empty but swinging with your steps. The path you and the others dug yesterday is already beginning to fill again, but you know where to place your feet. As you draw the water, cranking the rope with stiff fingers, you hear footsteps behind you, light, familiar. It's Tomas, the apprentice cooper, a quiet boy with thick eyebrows and a habit of chewing dried apple peel. "Morning," he says, rubbing his hands together. You nod and offer him a turn at the well. "Father's caught the winter cough," he says, after a pause. Breath rattles, like he's got a frog in there. You glance at him. There's fear behind his eyes, but also something else: exhaustion. Worry that runs deep, like frost in the ground. You could go to Magda, you say. He shrugs. Ma says she's a witch. You suppress a small smile. Everyone calls Magda a witch, but no one complains when her teas ease fever, or when her ointments keep chilblains from turning to rot. Your ma still drinks her root wine every solstice, you murmur. Thomas smiles then, small and brief, like the sun breaking through a snow cloud. You return home with the water sloshing against the buckets, colder than ice, but clean and clear. Inside, you heat some over the fire and set about preparing a thin porridge with dried barley, bits of onion, and a pinch of crushed herbs from your stores. Breakfast in winter isn't meant to be satisfying. It's meant to keep you alive. Later that morning, you decide to visit Magda yourself. The old woman lives at the edge of the village, in a hut built partly into a hill. Its roof is covered with moss and snow, and a line of dried lavender hangs over the doorway, fluttering gently despite the still air. You knock once, then twice. From inside, you hear a rustle, a cough. Then the door creaks open, revealing the tiny, bent figure of Magda, wrapped in layers of wool and rabbit fur. Her eyes are sharp, pale as fog, and they study you without greeting. You're here about the boy's father. It's not a question. You nod, and she grunts softly, stepping aside to let you in. The interior of her hut is thick with the smell of herbs, smoke, and something bitter like pine resin and scorched bread. Jars line the shelves, dried mushrooms, amber-colored oils, bundles of nettle, vials of dark powder. You stand near the fire while she moves around the room with surprising speed, gathering items into a leather pouch. Dried horehound, pine needles, a wax-wrapped square of bear fat. Steep this twice a day, not too hot, and if he starts to cough blood, she pauses, her eyes narrowing, come back. You thank her, and as you turn to leave, she stops you. The watchers were at your door. You freeze. She nods once. They always come after the third storm. But this year, they linger longer. They're listening. Listening for what? Her smile is small, almost kind. Silence. You leave her hut with the pouch tucked safely inside your coat. That night, the wind returns. It starts low, like a whisper through the chimney, then grows louder, more insistent. Snow beats against the walls in sharp bursts. The shutters strain. The cat hides beneath the table. You double the logs in the fire and tie a strip of wool around the bottom of the door to keep the draft at bay. But the cold still seeps in. It always does. As you lie in bed, wrapped tight, you think of the watchers. Of Magda's words, of Tomas and his father, of Gazella and her offering of fish, and suddenly you understand. They're not just listening for silence between people. They're listening for stillness inside you, a heart that's given up, a mind that's gone dark. But your fire is still lit, and that is everything. You drift off again, this time dreaming of a great white plain, endless and moonlit. In the distance, a bell rings once, then twice, a soft sound, hollow and sweet. And beneath your feet, the snow glows faintly, as though warmed from below by embers that never die. The days that follow pass slowly. Food begins to run low. Salted fish grows soft with damp. The barley sacks are nearly empty. A single turnip rolls across the floor when you open your storage chest. It's gone soft on one side. You cut it in half and boil what you can. and still the snow falls. Outside the chapel, the priest hangs strips of red cloth from the eaves, an old symbol for warding off spirits of frost. No one mocks him for it, not this winter, because now people are seeing them, more of them, not just in dreams, not just at the edge of the woods, but closer, near the well, near the chapel, near the schoolhouse. Footprints appear in the snow, perfectly spaced, impossibly deep, and always vanishing before they reach the door. The children whisper about the one with antlers. The baker swears he saw one staring through his window long after midnight. And then, one morning, the bell in the chapel rings 3 times. No one pulled the rope. The snow outside Tomas's cottage was undisturbed except for the single trail leading out. The prints were too large for any man, too deep, too evenly spaced. The villagers stood in a hush, afraid to cross the threshold. You are the first to step inside. The hearth is cold, a pile of ash where the fire should be. Blankets strewn on the floor, one of them soaked as if it had been dropped in melted snow. The table is overturned. No signs of struggle, yet everything feels wrong, as though the room itself had exhaled and gone still forever. Tomas is gone. So is his mother. No blood, no note, no tracks of escape, just the other trail. The priest recites a blessing at the door, fumbling with his rosary. Behind him, Magda mutters something older than prayers, her fingers tracing symbols in the air. Symbols you don't recognize, but they make the back of your neck prickle. By midday, the clouds have thickened, and then the snow begins again. Not soft like before. This snow falls like ash, dry and whispering, piling in corners, painting the world gray. The children call it the old snow, the kind from stories, the kind that comes before a reckoning. You return home and block your windows with cloth, but even then the shadows move. That night, in the distance, you hear the bell 4 times. Magda visits you the next morning. She comes without knocking. Her eyes are sharper than usual, her breath rising in clouds. She carries a bundle in cloth, candles made of tallow and black wax, a small tin of salt, and something wrapped in deer hide. Place these above your door, she says, and don't dream tonight. Whatever you do, don't let them pull you into the dreaming. You want to ask what she means, but her eyes say, not now, not yet. You obey. The wind wails louder that evening. Animals cry out from the barns. Someone down the road screams. Once, then silence. You sit by the fire, clutching a kettle of boiled roots, watching the door, waiting. Midnight comes, and so does the knocking. 1 knock, 2, 3, a pause, then a 4th. You don't move, don't speak. The room is ice. Your breath fogs the air. Outside, the snow whispers secrets against the walls. And then the door creaks, not open, just pressure. As if something leans, just lightly, just enough to be felt. The knock returns. But this time, it comes from the window. You curl tighter by the hearth. The fire sputters. Shadows stretch across the room. Then a voice. Are you warm? Soft? Measured? Inhuman? You do not answer. The voice. So many fires. So many hearts still lit. How lovely. How rare. Footsteps crunch in the snow, moving away. But you don't breathe again until the sun rises. When you finally open the door, nothing remains, except for a branch left in the snow, blackened, split, marked with ancient runes you cannot read. But Magda can. She visits at noon, holds the branch over the fire until it cracks. They're testing you, she says. This village, this season. You look to the woods, where snow swirls between the trees. Magda touches your shoulder. They're waiting for something, someone, and you keep waking. That's why they haven't taken me, into the dark, where the old cold lives, where the bells never stop. Your hands shake. Magda pours tea from her gourd, offers it without a word. You drink, and your vision sharpens. You see firelight, and antlers, and a gate made of bone, and then nothing. You wake hours later, blanket over your shoulders, candle burned low, a note carved into the table with a blade. Dig before dusk, north side of the well. You go. The wind fights you, but you dig, past the topsoil, through frozen mud, your fingers numb, your breath labored, until you strike something. Wood, a box. You pull it free. It's old, iron-bound, sealed with wax and rope. Inside, bones, charred, wrapped in linen, and a vial of something red, and a scroll. On the scroll, a single word, trade. Behind you, the wind stops, and the bell rings again, 5 times. You do not look back. You return to your cottage, the box in your arms, and for the first time, you realize this is no longer survival. This is negotiation. This is the opening move, and the game has only begun. Snow has turned the village into a map of silence, white upon white, broken only by the tips of buried fences and the slow drift of chimney smoke. The box rests on your table, untouched since last night. You haven't dared open it again, but it hums, quietly, like something breathing. You light a candle and sprinkle salt across the floorboards, just like Magda taught you. The wax burns blue. By morning, there's a knock at the doorknob, the kind from the night before. This one is softer, human. It's Henrik, the miller's eldest son, pale as milk and shivering in boots far too thin. They took father, he says, voice cracking. He went out for wood, never came back, just ... His lantern left burning near the grove. You step outside with him, past the horseshoe nailed to your lintel, past the silent barns. The sky above is oddly clear, too clear, like it's waiting. Together, you walk toward the grove. The trees stand still, frozen mid-breath. At the edge, the lantern glows. Inside it, the flame is blue. You glance at Henrik. His lips tremble, and not from cold. Near the base of a tree, there's a pattern in the snow. A circle made of sticks, arranged like teeth. In the center, father's cloak, folded, wet. A small pile of stones rests beside it. On top, a single human molar. Henrik runs. You do not. You kneel, touch the edge of the ring. The snow hisses where your glove presses down. There is heat beneath. The box in your cottage shifts that night. Not loudly, not suddenly, just a subtle nudge. You wake and know it has moved. You go to the table. Light a second candle. Wait. The runes along the iron hinges glow faintly, and the word carved into the scroll trade is now written also on the inside of the lid. But below it, something new has appeared. Take, leave, balance. The phrase repeats in your thoughts as you stare at the box. Take, leave, balance. You dream of the well again that night. Only this time it's dry. You climb down, rung by rung, into a silence thick and old. At the bottom lies a shape wrapped in furs. When you lift the cover, it's your own face staring back. You wake in sweat. The candle is out. The box is open. Inside, something new. A lock of hair, red gold child's hair. You don't know whose it is or how it got there. At dawn, a wail echoes from the far barn. You rush out, boots half-laced, heart pounding. The butcher's wife is on her knees in the snow, cradling a shawl, empty. My baby, she sobs. My baby was in the cradle. The cradle's still there. He isn't. You feel it then, the shift, the taking. Magda arrives at your door that evening. She's pale, breath shallow. She brings an old book wrapped in hide, the pages brittle with age. There was once a winter they couldn't explain, she says, placing the book on your table, centuries back. The snow fell the same. People vanished, just like now. You open the book. Inside, charcoal sketches, symbols, maps, and a list. 21 names, all crossed out, except one, written in red, yours. You step away. It's not a curse, Magda says. It's a pattern, the land asks, and we've forgotten how to answer. Outside, wind howls like laughter. You flip to the final page. There, drawn in ink and blood, is a door beneath the earth, marked by antlers, surrounded by ash, the same as your dream. We must go to it, Magda says, tonight, while the snow sleeps. You wrap yourself in furs, carry only salt, wax, and a blade. Together, you follow the trail east, past the grove, past the boundary stones, into the white woods where no one walks. The trees thin, the snow deepens, then earth, a mound, nearly buried in its center. A stone slab, you brush off the snow. Symbols are etched into the rock. Magda hums, a lullaby in a language older than bone. The stone begins to glow, and then, with a groan of cold earth, it opens. Steps descend into dark. You look to her. She nods, and you begin to climb down. The light fades behind you. The cold does not. It deepens. Like a breath held for centuries, you descend into the hollow beneath the threshold, where silence waits, where they are watching, where the next trade must be made. Take, leave, balance. The phrase repeats in your thoughts as you stare at the box. Take, leave, balance. You dream of the well again that night. Only this time it's dry. You climb down, rung by rung, into a silence thick and old. At the bottom lies a shape wrapped in furs. When you lift the cover, it's your own face staring back. You wake in sweat. The candle is out. The box is open. Inside, something new. A lock of hair, red gold child's hair. You don't know whose it is or how it got there. At dawn, a wail echoes from the far barn. You rush out, boots half-laced, heart pounding. The butcher's wife is on her knees in the snow, cradling a shawl, empty. My baby, she sobs. My baby was in the cradle. The cradle's still there. He isn't. You feel it then, the shift, the taking. Magda arrives at your door that evening. She's pale, breath shallow. She brings an old book wrapped in hide, the pages brittle with age. There was once a winter they couldn't explain, she says, placing the book on your table, centuries back. The snow fell the same. People vanished, just like now. You open the book. Inside, charcoal sketches, symbols, maps, and a list. 21 names, all crossed out, except one, written in red, yours. You step away. It's not a curse, Magda says. It's a pattern, the land asks, and we've forgotten how to answer. Outside, wind howls like laughter. You flip to the final page. There, drawn in ink and blood, is a door beneath the earth, marked by antlers, surrounded by ash, the same as your dream. We must go to it, Magda says, tonight, while the snow sleeps. You wrap yourself in furs, carry only salt, wax, and a blade. Together, You follow the trail east, past the grove, past the boundary stones, into the white woods where no one walks. The trees thin, the snow deepens, then earth, a mound, nearly buried in its center. A stone slab. You brush off the snow. Symbols are etched into the rock. Magda hums, a lullaby in a language older than bone. The stone begins to glow, and then, with a groan of cold earth, it opens. Steps descend into dark. You look to her. She nods, and you begin to climb down. The light fades behind you. The cold does not. It deepens. Like a breath held for centuries, you descend into the hollow beneath the threshold, where silence waits, where they are watching, where the next trade must be made. Your boots touch dirt that isn't frozen. It's warm, damp breathing. The corridor glows with faint blue veins pulsing in the walls. You can't tell if it's stone or bone. Behind you, the stone above grinds shut. No way back. Magda doesn't flinch. She reaches into her cloak and scatters salt behind her. So they don't follow, she whispers. The tunnel curves, turns, narrows. You duck beneath a hanging root. It's not a root, it has fingernails. The walls begin to whisper, not voices, just ... phrases, words you almost remember. Take, leave, balance. You were promised, she offered. A door appears, wooden, old, burned around the edges. Magda pushes it open with the tip of her staff. The chamber beyond is circular, lit by hundreds of floating candles, each flame a face. You see Henrik's father, the butcher's child, the baker's wife, eyes wide, silent. They don't blink. Magda steps forward, begins to chant. A pedestal rises from the center of the room. On it, the box, the same box, but older, cracked, blackened. The lid creaks open on its own. Inside, nothing, just shadow. A shadow that shifts when you breathe. The walls begin to weep. Black wax oozes down in lines. We must complete the trade, Magda says, or all will be taken. You feel it then, the choice, to give or to run. The air outside has settled into a soft stillness, the kind only a deep winter night can bring. You pull your cloak tighter, the fur lining brushing softly against your cheek. The snow crunches faintly underfoot as you approach the dark entrance of the crypt, half buried beneath centuries of frost and earth. The stone arch looms like a silent sentinel, its carved runes faintly glowing with an otherworldly light. You pause for a moment, fingers cold as they brush against the rough stone. The chill of the crypt seeps out, a breath of forgotten winters, promising secrets best left undisturbed. Yet something in your heart pulls you forward, a quiet curiosity, or perhaps a sense of duty. Taking a deep breath, you step inside. The torchlight flickers, casting trembling shadows against the curved stone walls. Each step echoes softly in the cold silence, a slow rhythm that matches your own heartbeat. The scent of damp earth rises, mingled with a faint sweetness, like honey frozen in time. You move deeper, following the winding stairs downward, descending into the belly of the earth. The temperature drops further. Your breath hangs in pale clouds, curling into the still air. The walls, slick with moisture, seem to close in, whispering of centuries spent guarding something precious or dangerous. Your fingers brush along the runes etched into the stones. They hum faintly under your touch, as if alive. Memories of Magda's words echo in your mind, the ancient bargains made beneath the frozen soil, the price paid in blood or sorrow to survive the cruelest winters. As you reach the bottom, the passage opens into a small chamber, shaped like a heart cut from stone. Frost decorates the edges of an altar, and atop it lies an object wrapped in red silk. You approach carefully, feeling the weight of the moment. The object is a key carved from bone, its surface worn smooth by time. Intricate runes spiral along its length, glowing softly with a blue flame no fire can kindle. You lift it gently, warmth spreading through your fingers in contrast to the biting cold around you. Beside the altar, a parchment lies unfolded. The ink is faded but still legible. It reads, "To warm the cold heart of winter, a gift must be given, a secret, a sorrow, or a sacrifice." Your mind drifts to the villagers left outside, trapped by the frost and silence. You wonder what this ancient phrase means, what must be given, and to whom. The silence in the chamber grows heavy, almost alive. Then, a faint scratching noise begins, soft, deliberate, coming from the far corner shrouded in shadows. You hold your breath, the sound stops. The cold seems to deepen, pressing against your skin like unseen fingers. A soft rustling follows. From the darkness, a faint shape emerges. A small figure, wrapped in tattered fur, steps forward. Its eyes gleam like polished ice. "Who goes there?" you whisper, voice barely more than a breath. The figure tilts its head, studying you with an ancient wisdom. Then it speaks in a voice as soft as falling snow. "I am the keeper of the winter's whisper. I guard the forgotten trade." Your heart quickens. You step closer, careful not to startle this ethereal guardian. "Tell me," you say, "what is the trade, and what must I give?" The keeper's gaze shifts toward the key in your hand. This key unlocks the door between the seasons, the place where winter's grasp loosens and warmth returns. But no door opens without a toll. You nod slowly, feeling the weight of responsibility settle over you like a heavy cloak. The toll, the keeper continues, is not gold nor goods. It is memory, pain, or hope, a gift from the heart to balance the winter's cold. You think of your lost friends, the vanished villagers, the hunger gnawing at your belly. You recall the long nights spent wrapped in furs, the smoke-filled rooms, and the cold that seeped into your bones. "Can I give hope?" you ask, your voice trembling with both fear and longing. The keeper smiles faintly, a flicker of warmth in the frozen crypt. Hope is the rarest of gifts. It can thaw the coldest winter or shatter like ice in your hand. Choose wisely. You close your eyes, feeling the torchlight flicker as you search within yourself. A small flame kindles memories of laughter by the fire, the taste of fresh bread, the touch of a loved one's hand. "I offer hope," you say softly. The chamber brightens. The runes on the altar blaze with blue fire, and the key warms in your grasp. The air shifts, the frost retreating like a tide pulling back from the shore. The keeper steps aside, revealing a hidden door carved into the stone wall. Its surface glimmers with frost patterns resembling delicate spiderwebs. "This door leads to the season's turn," the keeper whispers. "But beware, the path is not without peril." You nod, stepping toward the door. Your fingers slide over the bone key, and the lock clicks open with a sound like cracking ice. Beyond the door lies a narrow passage, bathed in a pale light that seems to pulse with life. You move forward, each step carrying you deeper into the mysteries beneath winter's veil. The passage twists and turns, leading you to an underground cavern where icicles hang like chandeliers from the vaulted ceiling. Pools of water lie frozen, reflecting the pale glow. In the center stands a figure, a woman, draped in robes of frost and shadow. Her eyes are the color of glaciers, and her voice is the wind through bare branches. "Welcome," she says, "to the heart of winter's secret." You bow your head respectfully. "I am the Winter Mother," she continues, "guardian of the frozen cycle, keeper of balance. Why have you come?" You hold out the key to bring warmth back to the world above. She studies you for a long moment. Many have tried, few have succeeded. Winter demands respect and sacrifice. The cavern grows colder still. Frost spreads over the stone floor, creeping toward your feet. "Will you pay the price?" she asks softly. Your thoughts flash to those waiting outside, friends, family, the village struggling against the endless snow. "I will," you say, voice steady, despite the cold biting at your skin. The Winter Mother nods. Then the trade is made. She raises her hand, and the icy air swirls, forming shapes of fire and water. Earth and air, a dance of elements that mirrors the seasons themselves. A warmth blooms in your chest, spreading through your limbs, chasing away the chill. The frozen walls begin to thaw, droplets falling like tears onto the stone. Remember, the Winter Mother warns, the balance must be kept. Too much warmth, and the cycle breaks. Too little, and the world freezes. You take a deep breath, feeling the weight and wonder of your choice. The passage begins to close behind you, but the door at the surface stands open now, sunlight filtering through the snow. As you climb the stairs, the frost recedes, and the first hints of spring whisper on the wind. Outside, the village breathes again. The cold lessens, the snow softens, and life stirs beneath the earth. You glance back once, the crypt sealed and silent. But in your heart, the winter's whisper lingers, a reminder that the harshest seasons carry secrets, and that survival is a balance of sacrifice, hope, and courage. The morning sun filters weakly through the frosted window panes, casting a pale glow over the village rooftops. You awaken slowly, the warmth of the Winter Mother's gift still lingering in your chest like a quiet ember. Outside, the snow no longer bites with the same fierce chill. It melts softly, dripping from icicles like gentle tears. You rise, wrapped in your furs, and step outside. The air smells different, now less like frozen earth, more like promise. Beneath the thinning blanket of white, patches of brown earth peek through. Tiny buds, stubborn and brave, press against the cold ground. But the village feels ... changed, not just by the retreating winter, but by something deeper, something unseen. The villagers move with a cautious hope. Faces once drawn tight with cold and fear now soften, eyes flickering with something like relief. Yet whispers linger, stories of shadows that follow the thaw, of cold that hides beneath the warmth. Henrik, the miller's eldest son, approaches you quietly. His breath clouds the air in pale puffs. "You made it back," he says, voice low but steady. "We thought the crypt would swallow you." You nod. "It didn't, but it changed me. The trade is made, but the balance feels fragile." He frowns, looking toward the woods. The forest's different too. The animals are restless. Tracks in the snow don't belong to any creature we know. Your mind returns to the chamber beneath the earth, the icy dance of elements, the Winter Mother's warning. You realize the thaw is not just a return to warmth, but a passage into something new. The seasons have shifted, but the story isn't finished. Later that day, you gather with Magda and a few trusted villagers around a fire. The flames crackle and pop, sending sparks into the crisp air. Magda opens her ancient book, the pages brittle but full of wisdom. There are tales, she says softly, of winters where the thaw brings not only life, but shadows beings, caught between cold and warmth, seeking to claim what's been traded. You ask her, what can we do? How do we keep the balance? Magda's eyes glint with a mixture of fear and determination. We watch, we listen, and we remember the old ways, the rites that honor both the cold and the heat, the light and the dark. As night falls, the village settles into uneasy rest. You find yourself unable to sleep, drawn outside once more by the restless wind. The moon hangs low, its silver light turning the snow into a mirror. A soft sound reaches your ears, a whispering, carried on the breeze. It's almost like a song, sorrowful and sweet. You follow it, stepping carefully across the frozen ground toward the edge of the forest. There, among the skeletal trees, you see them figures, cloaked in frost and shadow, their eyes glowing faintly like embers. They move silently, weaving between the trunks, neither fully alive nor dead. Your heart races, but you remember the key, the gift, the price paid. You speak softly, your voice steady against the night. We honor the winter's passing. We honor the balance. The figures pause, turning toward you, their forms shimmering in the moonlight. For a moment, the world holds its breath. Then, slowly, they bow their heads and vanish into the night, leaving only the whispering wind behind. You return to the village, the promise of spring both fragile and fierce in your heart. You know the winters will come again, each one brutal in its own way. But now you carry the secret of the crypt, the gift of the key, and the hope that even in the coldest darkness, light can be found. The village wakes slowly under a sky that's soft with gray clouds, heavy with the promise of thaw and rain. You move through the streets, the earth beneath the melting snow sticky and cold, each step sinking slightly as winter loosens its grip. The air is thick with change. You notice the scent of damp wood smoke mingled with something else, a faint, earthy aroma, like wet roots and moss stirred after a long sleep. It pulls at your senses, whispering of the forest's secrets just beyond the village border. Henrik finds you near the well, his face pale but steady. There are sounds coming from the grove, he says quietly. Not animals, but voices, low murmuring, almost like singing. Your heart skips. The groved place where your father disappeared, where the lantern burned blue and cold. You know you must go. Magda joins you as you prepare. Her eyes hold a weight of ancient knowledge. The trade beneath the threshold has stirred something old, she warns. Not all that sleeps beneath the earth wishes to stay silent. You carry only what you must: salt, the bone key, and a knife sharp as winter's edge. The path to the grove is softer now, the snow patchy, wet. The trees stand taller, shadows lengthening in the dim light. You stop where the circle of sticks once marked the earth, now scattered, broken. But the stones remain cold and heavy, arranged in a pattern you don't understand. A flicker of movement catches your eye. From the shadows emerges a figure cloaked in wolf's fur. His eyes gleam wild and bright. You've returned, he says, voice like the crunch of frozen leaves. The balance trembles. The cost of the trade is not paid in full. You swallow hard, gripping the key. What more is needed? He steps closer, the air growing colder. A story, he says simply, a truth forgotten by time. You exchange a glance with Magda, who nods. The village is past what has been buried beneath snow, and silence must be remembered. That night, you gather with the villagers in the longhouse. The fire casts tall shadows on the wooden walls as elders share tales wrapped in smoke and sorrow. Stories of ancient winters that nearly broke the land, of sacrifices made by those who came before. As the stories unfold, you realize the truth is darker than you imagined. The trade beneath the threshold was once balanced by more than hope. It demanded remembrance, a promise never forgotten to honor the cycles of life and death. Outside, the wind howls, carrying voices that rise and fall like a haunting lullaby. You understand now that to save your village, you must uncover the forgotten story and offer it to the winter spirit. Only then can the balance hold and the thaw be true. The night stretches long, your thoughts drifting like snowflakes, fragile and fleeting, and deep beneath the earth, in the hollow where silence waits, the old watchers stir once more. The dawn breaks soft, spilling silver light over the village rooftops. The air feels thinner somehow, as if holding its breath, waiting for something to be said, a secret to be remembered. You rise early, the weight of the wolferman's words pressing in your mind. A story must be found, a forgotten covenant between the people and the winter spirit. A promise sealed long ago, but lost to time and frost. Magda waits by the fire, her fingers tracing the worn edges of the ancient book. We must search the records, she says quietly. The old abbey's ruins might hold the truth. Together, you gather a small group of villagers. Henrik carries a lantern, its flame steady despite the chill. The path to the abbey winds through tangled woods, where the snow thins into patches of frozen earth and tangled roots. The abbey stands silent and solemn, half swallowed by ivy and moss. Stone walls, cracked and worn, hold echoes of chants long faded. Inside, dust motes dance in the light. You run your fingers over carved inscriptions, half-forgotten prayers etched in stone. Magda reads from her book, matching symbols to words. Then you find it, a ledger, fragile and yellowed. Within its pages, the story unfolds. Centuries ago, the villagers made a pacta, covenant, with the Winter Mother herself. They promised to honor her with a feast, a gift, and a story every winter's end. In return, she vowed to protect their lands from the cruelest cold. But over time, the ritual was forgotten. Winters grew harsher, the balance tipping toward shadow and hunger. Your pulse quickens. The box, the crypt, the hollow, they were all part of this ancient promise, a warning and a plea. Henrik's voice breaks the silence. How do we restore it? Magda's eyes meet yours. We must gather the village, prepare the feast, tell the stories that have been lost. As twilight falls, you return home with the ledger cradled like a precious flame. The snow has softened to a gentle hush. The village waits, unaware of the promise you carry. That night, beneath a sky thick with stars, you begin the preparations. Salt and wax, herbs and firewood, all set with reverence. The villagers gather in the longhouse, faces illuminated by flickering torchlight. One by one, the elders recount tales of winters past, of sacrifices made and blessings earned. You speak last, sharing the story from the ledger, the forgotten covenant. The words feel heavy and alive as they leave your lips, weaving through the room like smoke. Outside, the wind stills, and for the first time in many seasons, The cold feels less like a threat and more like a guardian's watchful gaze. The balance shifts once more. The descent seems endless. Each step draws you deeper into the belly of the earth, where light can no longer follow. Your breath hangs in the air, slow and fogged. Beside you, Magda walks silently, her staff tapping against the stone. The walls weep with cold. You think of Henrik, of the butcher's child, of the name written in red, yours. The corridor ends in a vast, dark hall. Stalactites hang like the jaws of some sleeping beast. Beneath them, a circle of ash surrounds a frozen pond, black as obsidian. In its center stands a figure. She is neither old nor young, neither beautiful nor monstrous. Draped in a gown of ravens and frost, her face shifts with every blink. Mother, crone, child, stranger, the Winter Mother. She watches you. You step forward. The air is heavy, thick like honey. Your boots crunch on bone hidden beneath the ash. You come with the box, she says, her voice whined over snow. Magda bows. You kneel, unsure. The Winter Mother gestures, and the old blackened box rises from the earth, settling between you. You forgot, she whispers. You forgot the story, the trade, the balance. You nod. We're here to remember, to restore it. Her eyes flick to Magda. She knows the cost. Do you? You hesitate. I'm willing. Willing is not the same as worthy. She extends a hand. The box creaks open. Inside, nothing and everything. It swirls with memory and hunger. To take, you must leave. To leave, you must know what you hold. The pond behind her ripples, and from it rise three forms. Familiar, Henrik's father. The baby, a woman you don't recognize, but whose face brings sudden grief. Those taken, Magda murmurs, traded without consent. You stand, I offer myself. In their place, the Winter Mother tilts her head, too easy to clean. The candles from earlier faces of the lost begin to circle the chamber. One by one, their eyes open. You've come far, she says, but the trade is not blood for blood. It is memory for silence, story for frost. What will you give that matters more than your life? You look to Magda. She doesn't speak. You reach into your coat, pull out the old book, the ledger, the stories of the past. You place it into the box. I give our history, our forgetting, so we never lose it again. The Winter Mother stares. Then, slowly, she smiles. The candles rise. The faces close their eyes. The three lost villagers step backward and vanish into the air like breath. The pond stills. The ash fades. Balance, she whispers. The ground trembles. And then you are outside, blinking. It's snowing, but softly now. The kind of snow that sings. Magda is beside you, eyes closed, tears on her cheeks. It worked, you say. She nods. For now. It always must be done again. You walk back to the village. Doors open. Lights flicker on. Henrik runs to his father. The butcher's wife collapses in joy. No one remembers what happened except you. The box is gone, but on your palm, a mark remains. A single line, etched like frost. Take, leave, balance. Winter breathes, but it does not bite. Not tonight. If you've made it this far, thank you for being part of this winter tale. If you enjoyed the story, I'd love for you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and maybe even share it with someone who loves cold mysteries and warm storytelling. Tell me in the comments where you re-tuning in from and what time or date you re-listening. I love seeing where in the world these stories find a home. And if you're cozy and drifting off right now, don't worry. There's always another story waiting right here when you return. Until then, stay warm, stay curious, and keep the balance.